Good morning, everyone. There's folks still coming into the meeting room, so just give it another couple minutes as more folks get in, and then we can get the meeting started. But for those of you that are already here, thank you for joining, and looking forward to a good meeting today.
This is really good. This is good. So what else do I want to say?
Okay, all right, good morning, everyone. We are 5 after the hour. So I think it would make sense to start now. We don't have everyone who typically joins these meetings on at the moment. But understandably, it's a Wednesday. Folks might be moving a little slow. But just, in consideration of everyone's time, we're just gonna go ahead and get started. Then as folks come in, they'll join the call and pick up where we currently are during the meeting. So we have some new folks on that aren't regularly here. We'll go around and do a quick round of welcome and introductions. And I'll start with myself. Um, my name is Devin Clark. I am the Senior Transportation Planner at MetroCOG. And I'm joined by two other staff in the office, and I'll turn it over to them so they can introduce themselves.
I'm Stephanie Ingraldi. I'm a GIS analyst at MetroCOG.
How's it going, everyone? I'm Nick Dostal, Regional Planner at MetroCOG.
All right, thank you, guys. And then I'll just, go down the roll call as I see it here. And feel free to unmute yourself and just say your organization and your title, and then I'll move on to the next person. So the first person I'm seeing is Bill Holdsworth.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. This is Bill Holsworth. I'm the Director of Economic and Community Development for the town of Monroe.
Thank you, Bill. I have Amy Watkins.
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute. Amy Watkins from Watch For Me CT.
All right, thank you, Amy. Next, Anna Stern.
Hi, my name is Anna Stern. I'm also from Watch For Me CT.
All right, thank you, guys. Kevin Ellis.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Kevin Ellis, a transportation engineer at the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments.
Thanks, Kevin. Officer Nicole.
Hi, this is Officer Nicole Vartuli, New Canaan Police. I'm a school resource officer. I'm not sure if anyone can see me. I couldn't see my screen before I logged in.
Okay. All right, thank you. Sarah Roy.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sarah Roy. I'm an outreach and engagement specialist for the western end of Connecticut for CT Rides. We're the statewide mobility program for Connecticut DOT. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Tatiana.
Good morning, Tatiana Solovey, Assistant Town Engineer with the Town of Trumbull.
Bill Mauer.
Bill Maher, Town of Trumbull, Town Engineer.
Thank you, Bill. And then we also have Patrick Carlton, who's the Deputy Director of MetroCOG. So I think that's everyone who's joined us so far, so we can go ahead and get started. So the first thing on our agenda is just an update on the MUTCD interim approvals. And the MUTCD is the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and there's been some updates based on the 11th edition of the document, specific to green colored pavement for bike lanes and intersection bicycle boxes. So I have a couple things that I just want to showcase just to give some context to this. So if you can see on the screen, this is just a example of some design plans from the town of Stratford for one of their complete streets designs on Main Street. And to speak to the green colored bike lanes, you'll see the green colored bike lanes here on the towards the edge of the roadway with these intersection bicycle boxes also highlighted in green. And the purpose of the green colored paint is basically to delineate to cyclists and drivers the area of the roadway that cyclists are permitted to be in and utilize as they're traveling along the roadway. And then the purpose of the bicycle box is to provide an opportunity for cyclists to establish themselves in the roadway ahead of all the vehicles, whether they're making a left or a right turn, at an intersection. So I have a real world example here, just showcasing what that looks like for Main Street in Stratford. So this is the intersection of Main Street and West Broad Street, and showing here the bicycle lane and bicycle box at the intersection. And you'll see in this area, all cyclists who are looking to make a left turn at this intersection onto West Broad, they're able to go ahead of any vehicles that are queued at, this intersection at a red light, which allows them to make a left turn without having and reducing the number of conflicts that they have with, vehicles traveling straight or also making a left turn in the roadway. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because with the 11th edition of the MUTCD, previously, to have this roadway treatment in the roadway, you would need to basically put together a letter to submit to Federal Highways that allows the use of this type of treatment. But since the release of the 11th edition, that is no longer required. So, a few years ago, as we were, going through the design for Stratford of their Main Street, we had to apply and send this letter to Federal Highways that will basically give us permission and allow the town to utilize, the green colored bike lanes and the intersection bicycle boxes as a part of this roadway redesign. Now that's not the case. So the town of Fairfield, they're also going through a redesign of their roadway in the Grassmere neighborhood along the Post Road. And they're also proposing to use some green colored paint for their bike lanes and intersection boxes. And previously, like I had mentioned, you would have needed Federal Highways permission to utilize this. But with the update of the new document for the MUTCD, that is no longer a requirement. So just wanted to, put that out there to let everyone know, things change periodically. And, this is another thing that has changed that, is no longer necessary to reach out to Federal Highway to get their approval to utilize these design treatments in roadway redesign. If you would like more information on that, I can provide you with that. I received a letter from Federal Highways, I want to say maybe a week and a half ago, in me reaching out to them to support the town of Fairfield in getting these treatments in their project as they're going through design. And that's when we were made aware that, those interim approval letters are no longer needed. So these treatments can go in, by right, as long as they meet the design standards that is laid out by Connecticut DOT and Federal Highways. So with that, just wanted to ask, are there any questions from anyone? I can try and answer those now. If not, feel free to follow up, with me later. And I can, provide you with those responses to your questions then. Okay, all right. So that's good to know that there are no questions, at least right now. But if, like I said, if anything comes up, you'd like further information on this, I can share with you what was relayed to me by Federal Highways. Okay, so going into the meat and potatoes of today's meeting, wanted to provide some updates to new e-bike laws that will be taking effect in October 1st, with some new laws that came out of the latest session that happened earlier this year. Specifically, Public Act 25-159 now permits the use of Class 1 e-bikes on multi-use trails. across the entire state. And, you know, based on some of our previous safety meetings, there were some concerns with, you know, cyclist fatalities on trails and roadways in some of our towns. And, you know, the town's expressing concern on how they kind of regulate and educate residents on the use of e-bikes, not only on multi-use trails, but also on the roadways in town. So I was able to reach out to Watch For Me CT and the New Canaan Police Department to provide their perspective on what they're doing to educate their residents and users who use e-bikes in their towns and statewide on what the approach is that they're taking, and just to provide a greater level of education around e-bikes and e-bike safety and what it means for, you know, your town and the work that you do as it pertains to e-bikes and the new law to take effect in October. So with that, I wanted to provide Amy Watkins or Anna the opportunity to, you know, give us some information on that and how it may affect, you know, your municipality and the work that you do. So Amy, if you'd like to share your screen, you know, let me know
Yes,
and I can give you
please.
permission
Yes,
to
I
do so.
do. Yep, let me send a request. Okay, let's see. You can all see this?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for having us. This is definitely an issue that is very popular right now. A lot of people are talking about it. So it's a good time to remind people about bike safety in general. So what Watch For Me is kind of doing, you know, with our education, we're kind of circling around a couple of different areas. One is helping all riders understand what the new laws are. Some people have a lot of confusion about, you know, what is an e-bike and what's not an e-bike, you know, what qualifies, etc., where they can ride. So we're doing a lot of just education around what does the new law say, and how does that pertain to people? And then we're using this, as I said, as an opportunity to just do some general, you know, safe riding, where to ride, you know, riding to the right, etc. And letting people know that if you have a higher speed e-bike, you might want to consider a head protection that is, you know, maybe a little bit more robust than a regular bicycle helmet, depending on the speed that you're going. For example, a throttled 20 or a 28-mile-per-hour bike is one that you might want to have a special helmet for. We're also especially looking at parents, and Anna's going to talk in a minute about the injuries. We have a spike in injuries, and we think that parents are a good target. And we love that kids are on e-bikes. We love that kids are starting to ride to school more and more. But we do want parents to consider like the age of their child, and if they have, you know, already have some on-bike experience. So maybe not taking a kid who's never ridden a bicycle before and putting them on an e-bike might not be the best idea, because there's hazards, but, you know, besides vehicles, there's lots of things as a bicycle rider, you know, there's sand and sticks and all kinds of things. So we want to talk to parents about evaluating whether their child is mature enough with enough experience, and then also making sure parents know what to tell their kids about where to ride and the protections, again, with the head protections, etc. Of course, any opportunity to talk about bikes is an opportunity to talk about to drivers that, you know, bikes belong on the roads. That's where they go. They're not, you know, supposed to be relegated to the sidewalk. And so, you know, trying to remind drivers about that, educate around the infrastructure, the bike infrastructure that's out there, and not driving in bike lanes, etc. We want to partner a little bit with law enforcement, not only to kind of get their perspective as well about what is enforceable and not enforceable. You know, certainly they're not going to be out on trails making people stop and show, you know, what class their bicycle is. So, you know, kind of getting a handle on what kinds of things are enforceable, and then what kinds of things are just like courtesy things that officers might say to riders, you know, about using their e-bike, you know, if they're not creating any kind of a hazard, then, you know, that might be a situation where they're kind of on their own, leaving the cyclist on their own and not bothering them. But, you know, there's some gray area there about what is actually something that's a stoppable offense and what's not. And finally, we're trying to, and I'll talk about this again at the end, connect other groups and advocates so that we're all on the same page. We're all kind of familiar with the law. We know what the new changes are going to be. You know, again, what's enforceable and what's not enforceable. So that's kind of what the sorts of things that we're looking at with our education. And I'm going to turn it over to Anna to talk about what some of our content is.
Hi, everyone. Before I get into this and talking about our, e-bike safety I just want to say that e-bikes are a great thing. They allow people that might not otherwise be able to bike again or bike farther. So it's a great accessibility item and just, generally a fun way to get around. That said, safety is very important. From that perspective, if it's important on a traditional bicycle, it's potentially even more important on an e-bike. And this is really where the helmet thing comes in, because I don't think a lot of people know that, and this is something that we're trying to spread awareness about, is that bike helmets are tested at impacts of about 14 miles an hour. So especially as Amy mentioned, if you're on that class 3 e-bike, you might want to consider one that's tested for higher impacts. I know in Europe, they have something called the NTA 8775, which is tested to that 28 mile an hour potential impact that you could have on that faster e-bike. But just making sure that people know that everyone has to wear a helmet and not just kids. For the most part, trails kind of being a little bit of the exception. You ride a e-bike in the same place you ride regular bikes. So you want to follow all traffic rules, signs, and signals. Even though you could be going faster than a regular bike, you still want to stay to the right because cars can go faster than you, unless you're turning left, obviously. And then more targeted towards parents, you should evaluate whether your child is ready to navigate the road safely on an e-bike, because ultimately e-bikes shouldn't be on sidewalks, and your child will be in the road with cars. So making sure that they have the fine motor skills and know how to ride a bike and know the rules of the road is really, really important for keeping kids safe. And sort of to that end, this is preliminary data because obviously we don't get data until the end of the year when the codes are pulled, but or the final data. In 2024, from January to June, there were 8 e-bike injuries. This year, in that same time, there were 39. So that's a measurable increase. And then this year so far, there's been at least 2 e-bike fatalities. One was a teenager that was killed and sort of veered into the lane when he veered into the lane. And the other was a non-traffic fatality, but it still was someone who unfortunately died while riding an e-bike. So just something to keep in mind. And we'll get more data on this, but it is worth noting that this is sort of where the trends are going, unfortunately, making, all this education and all the other efforts that go into safety very important. You know, the next slide.
Oh.
Sorry. Some of the things that we are doing to, for that education specifically is things related to social media. So whether that's our own social media tiles and videos, as you see in the center and on the right of the screen, or sharing other articles that are talking about various e-bike related issues that people should be aware of. The sort of black market or online market of e-bikes is one such thing, because you have these state regulations, and then you have an e-bike that you buy from Temu or wherever that sort of flies in the face of that. I mean, especially if, as the image on the left notes, e-bikes going 70 miles an hour, not safe. Can you go to the next slide? And then the last thing that we're really doing in terms of resources is creating informational sheets. Hopefully on our website, we'll have a couple up in the near future. This one should be up soon. It really details the law and the changes to the law surrounding e-bikes. And it especially differentiates e-bikes versus motor-driven cycles, which is that new class that was expanded upon in the recent changes. I think it's really important that when we're talking about this, that things that are not e-bikes, we don't call them e-bikes, because I think that's just confusing everybody. And that's sort of one of the things that this sheet was meant to address. We'll also have another one that, while it will cover some of what's in the green box on the left, really is more focused on how to navigate e-bikes safely.
And a final thing that I'm trying to do, again, is to link all of the people who really care about this issue and want to get the right information out to folks. And so that includes Bike Walk Connecticut. I know they really care about this issue, and I serve on their board as well. So working with them, working with the Bike Ped Advisory Board and Sandy Fry and her team, the Farmington Valley Trails Council to cover, what kind of issues are showing up on the trails, working with Safe Routes to Schools to help them understand, the law changes and see what kids are doing out there, and hopefully, looping in CTDOT. Connecticut Greenways Council, again, speaking to that trails issue, and then just other groups and advocates that are, wanting to know, what's the best way to explain the law? What are the key points that people need to know, and make sure that we're all kind of saying the same thing. Like, for example, as Anna said, the term e-bike has been used for a lot of things that are not e-bikes, especially the kind of unregulated Wild West of the internet, where you can just put on sort of pedals that are visible, but they don't actually work and as a way to really propel the bike in any useful way. But because they're there, they can classify as an e-bike. So, what are the problems with that? And understanding that you can't buy some of these things off of the internet and take them to a local bike shop because they won't fix them. So trying to get everybody, so bike shops should be on this list as well, because they are also really, impacted by this, and having a lot of folks bring in their e-bikes that they bought elsewhere that aren't really e-bikes at all and are basically cycles of some sort that they can't fix, and people are stuck with these devices and they can't get them fixed, and they're not necessarily safe. So we're trying to really serve as a link amongst all these folks to just try to, number one, get on the same page, hear what the issues are that people are seeing, what do we need to tackle with this? What are the needs of the community around this issue? So that is it. And I will stop sharing. And then if folks have questions, we're happy to answer those.
Thank you, Amy and Anna, for that. And I see Sarah, she just shared something in the chat. So if you timely article about e-bikes today. Okay, thank you, Sarah, for that. So are there any questions for Amy from others before I ask my one question? Okay, all right, so not hearing anything. So Amy or Anna, I'm not sure who's, best positioned to answer this, but so seeing that a public act permits e-bikes on multi-use trails, at least class 1 e-bikes, do you know if a municipality is able to supersede that and create, additional laws
Yes.
pertaining to their town?
Yes, most things are controlled by local ordinance. So, whether or not you can ride, so the law permits class 2 on paved surface trails, but a town can say that they are allowing them elsewhere. So I think a lot of it does come down to the town. I don't know if they can ban e-bikes from regular class 1 e-bikes from regular trails. I don't know that you could do that, because that is now a state law that they're allowed. But when it comes to class 2 and class 3, local ordinance is going to come into play there. But that's another one of those kind of sticky issues, because the original law that before this change, it was that class 1 and 2 needed to be permitted by local ordinance. And we're not sure that every town had a local ordinance, but those were still on the trails. So it's a little bit of one of those things where you you have the law out there, but what is really in practice? What's really happening? A lot of people, I think if you're on a trail and you're not causing a nuisance and you're not riding recklessly or you're not on something that's clearly not a bicycle, then police are generally, and there's an officer who's going to talk about this, I'm sure, they're generally not going to stop and bother people and say, what e-bike classification are you on? They're really, it's like if you're clearly on the trail on something that's a motorcycle or a dirt bike or something. But according to the letter of the law, certain bikes are allowed on and certain ones aren't. And that's going to be a little bit of a gray area on the enforcement and even the ordinance part.
Okay, all right, yeah, no, that's really good to know. I think that's gonna be helpful for, some of our municipalities, especially, Monroe and Trumbull and Bridgeport that have those, multi-use trails traveling through each municipality, and how they can, govern and, permit or prohibit, e-bikes on those facilities. So, appreciate your time, Amy. Feel free to stay on or drop off if you'd like. But again, thanks for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
All right. And then so the next person today that we like to provide an opportunity to give a presentation is the New Canaan Police Department. Officer Nicole Vartuli is here to kind of speak to how they are approaching e-bikes in their municipality, and the education around that. And I think what I've heard from, Sandy Fry, for example, from the Bike Ped Advisory Board, is that, New Canaan is a model town in Connecticut that have been, making their best efforts to educate, folks on e-bike safety, and how to, ride safely within the roadway. So I'll turn it over to Officer Nicole Vartuli, and, feel free to take it away.
Hey guys, thanks for having me here. And I think that's really awesome that you think New Canaan is doing what we should with the e-bikes. But I think a lot of towns and cities are doing the same in Connecticut as much as we can. I don't have anything to share like a screen slideshow, but I sent Devin our e-bike flyer that I just updated, which I'll show. I have a printout here, but he has the actual thing.
I can
Yeah,
share
yeah,
that
if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah.
So I just updated this from with the new laws that are coming October 1st. And just to give you a background on this, I was a community officer in 2024 and noticed that starting in 2024 was when we were seeing the e-bikes, and they're a great tool to have for the kids and families. But we were just, as law enforcement, we were in the gray and unknown. Like, what are these things? These kids have helmets, no helmets. What do we do with this? So we tried to educate ourselves, before we got anything from the state. So, we went downtown starting this year, the school resource officers, we created this flyer front and back of, what is the e-bike, this, that. And so any kids that we saw downtown on e-bikes, we just stopped them, not like, detain them or anything, just, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Because they're familiar with us as the resource officers. And we were just like, hey, is your helmet on? That's too loose, tighten it up, clip your helmet. That's not going to help you if you fall. And then we gave them this brochure and said, bring it home to mom and dad. And just, we tried to explain to them the importance of it, just in real life, right? They're on the bike, so we're there stopping them for, 1 hour a week. We did it in June or May and June till the school ended. So I thought that was pretty successful. And with these new brochures, we're going to do that again now. Somehow get this out digitally, but when the spring comes again, we'll be out there again doing this when the kids are on the bikes. My take is, I think that these parents don't really know what they bought their kids when they bought them. And in, an affluent town like New Canaan, their best friend has it, so my mom and dad are gonna get me one. And that's just what it was, and it just exploded here. We were getting multiple complaints about the downtown area, which we do have a local ordinance for. We did have one for not having any bicycles on sidewalks, right? And there's a one-way, so obviously driving the correct way on the roadway. And then the ordinance was updated to make it e-bikes. So we're trying to be on top of it with that. Another thing we did, it was for 2 years now, because this was an issue. I went down to the local library, set up a booth with, brochures, information on bicycles. It was actually during a bicycle collection drive. So, with the local New Canaan Cares organization, myself, the police department were there during the bike collection and started giving e-bike information out while we were there. And then kids that were riding by on their regular bikes or riding by with e-bikes, we would talk to them and just try to educate them. We try to do this on social media. And, at first we didn't really know what to enforce, how to enforce it. And then the first select woman got really involved because it was a concern of hers as well, the safety. So we just started, if a kid was doing something reckless on a bicycle, a wheelie or downtown the wrong way or on the sidewalks, we would actually stop them because we had an actual reason to stop them for a violation. And if there were any infractions, that would be written out to the parents. So, this is a lesson and letter to the parents of this is what you have your kid riding, and this is what the enforcement action is. They're juvenile. The chief also tried to get those out into press releases before we did that enforcement of if there's an issue, the parents would be held liable. Yeah, so, and then some officers, we would call mom and dad. Yeah, your kid is here. Please come pick up their bike. We're going to hang out with them until you come pick up their e-bike. They're not supposed to ride it. They don't have a helmet or whatnot. Even some officers went to the extreme of towing their bikes. So it just depends who's on shift or whatnot. But, as a community officer, school resource officer, we try to minimize any type of enforcement and just educate the public on these things. Do you guys have any questions, or you want me to elaborate on anything further? I sure can, or try to.
This is great. This is Rena from Trumbull. I just sent our first selectman a message just explaining about your brochure and stuff, and hopefully we can get each of us a copy of this. If it's probably already in my mailbox somewhere, but and your overall approach in town, I think is very impressive. So thank you for sharing. And we may reach out to you if that's okay, as a follow-up.
Yeah, no, of course, absolutely. I'm happy to share this. And then also any questions or any other outreach you want us to do, we can, or partner up. That's fair.
Yes, thank you so much.
Of course. Did I see another question in the chat? Hold on here. Okay. All right, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a copy of the flyer too. So I can share that with everyone too, following the meeting. But I do have one question for you. Can you speak to like the reception that you got from, folks that you stopped, some of those kids? Like, did they understand that they were in the wrong, or, some of like the safety concerns that they might not be aware of before you would stop them? Like, were they receptive of the information that you tried to share?
Yeah, I think they were. I mean, you have your frequent flyers, as you call them, of kids that are constantly downtown, and then if you see them doing a wheelie, the next time their helmet's unstrapped, and you try to tell them. But this is where we contact the parents in terms of right now it's like a parenting issue, right? You're not monitoring your kid or what they're doing, but we try to get it through to them without any or many consequences to them. You know, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that does. So
Mhm.
thank you.
Of course.
Are there any other questions from anyone else? Or officer, do you like to share anything further?
I mean, we're gonna get something more out on social media in the near future, especially with the new laws. I'd probably even have to try to educate the officers on this stuff because this is all new laws that are going into effect. So if the officers need to get educated, so does the public. You know what I mean? Another thing we wanted to do coming up, which we didn't get a chance to do it, get the local bike shop involved and have like a forum at the library or our PD with education on bicycles, bike safety and stuff. We do basic bike safety with like the elementary kids and stuff, but with the middle school and high school, we wanted to get this out there with the local bike shop and presentation on that.
Okay. All right, perfect. And just a quick plug, because we're gonna get into this a couple items later, but the DOT micro grants is really helpful for supporting those efforts of educating people around active transportation or bike safety. And we've issued a number of grants this year and last year through the program that have gone to various departments in town, like Boys and Girls Clubs, economic development, public works. So that's also another area where you can get some support financially to support some of those education initiatives that you might be interested in doing. And I can send you some more information on that too, and everyone else in the group, if you're interested.
Perfect. There's one other thing I did want to add that I forgot. Like Watch For Me, CT mentioned the injuries spiked from this year to last year. The fatality spiked. It's our job is about prevention in any public safety arena. But I'm at the school and there's parents coming up to me that their kid fell off the bike, scraped their whole side. I was like, did you call EMS? Did you go to the hospital? No, there's so many unreported injuries, right? And who knows how bad they are. So it's just like, again, the education, prevention, we don't know, these kids don't know what they're riding. And if they can manipulate it to be 50, 60 miles per hour, nobody can control those bikes.
Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you so much. And similar to what I mentioned to Amy and Anna, if you'd like to stay on, feel free, but understandably, you have other things that you have to do throughout the day. So feel free to drop off if you need to.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. So, like I had mentioned before, I will go ahead and share some of this information that we've gotten from Amy, Watch For Me CT, and New Canaan PD following the meeting, so that you can have it for as a resource. And then I'll share their contact information. If you have any further questions, you can reach out to them directly. Or I can be a buffer for that connection. So going into the next agenda item, from here on out, I think things will kind of move pretty quickly. We have about another 15 minutes left in the meeting for today. So the next agenda item is LOTSIP, Local Transportation Capital Improvement Program. And not much to say here. Just wanted to give a reminder to folks on the call that those LOTSIP applications that you guys have, from our solicitation earlier this year, we provided some support to a few municipalities in getting those LOTSIP applications put together. And I think we followed up or provided those revisions to the applications. And I know they will need to be reviewed, signed, and then sent back to us so that we can submit them to the department. So this is just a reminder to you all to, get those in to us as soon as possible. And if you need any assistance or any help with that, we can provide it to you. But just wanted to keep this on your radar so that they don't fall off. And yeah, that's it. Are there any questions to Latsip? All right, so not hearing anything, just we'll, keep flowing into the next thing, which is federal grants awarded to MetroCOG. So I'll have Nick lead off with SS4A and the safety action plan.
All right, so I'll start with our Safe Streets for All grant, which we were awarded late last year. We finally have a grant agreement in place. Bless you. And we're working on a request for qualifications as we speak. So hopefully within the next month, we should have that out. And we're looking to begin work on that in the new year. Just about background on that grant is we're going to be looking at the 15 most dangerous crash hotspot locations throughout our 6 municipalities, suggesting proven safety countermeasures to counteract them, have them in a preliminary engineering design phase where you can then go out and find further funding to construct and implement those suggestions. In addition, we're going to be choosing 4+ locations for demonstration projects based off of those initial 15 locations we set. The second part of it is the Regional Safety Action Plan, which is also funded through SS4A, and we update every year. As part of that Regional Safety Action Plan, we have project lists for each town. In previous years, we've sent those lists out to you, and you've updated them. That process usually took a really long time, so this year we're just going to do meetings. So be on the lookout for an email from me looking to schedule like an hour-long meeting with all pertinent staff, just to give an update on all the projects that we have in previous year's plan and projects that you'd like to include in the next year's plan. Inclusion in the plan allows them to be applied for funding under the Safe Streets for All program in future rounds. I'll hand it back to Devin for our NA grant.
Perfect. Thank you, Nick. So yeah, this is just a brief another update to the federal grant, Reconnecting Communities or Neighborhood Equity and Access. So we had received a grant award to do a planning study for the Seaview Avenue, Stratford Avenue, Connecticut Avenue, I-95 intersection in the city of Bridgeport. We have gone through requesting proposals and selecting a consultant to assist us with that study. And that's going to be a partnership between a multitude of different agencies, being MetroCOG, the Connecticut Department of Transportation, the city of Bridgeport, their OPED department, and Groundwork Bridgeport will be assisting us in doing some of the public outreach for that project. So we're currently in contract negotiations with the selected consulting firm. And that's taking a little bit of time, just trying to get to a place where the consultant is within our funding limitations or funding award for the project. So that's currently where we are, but we're hoping to get under contract with them within the next 2 weeks or so. And then we can get that project underway and moving. So if there's any questions that you have to that planning study for NAE specifically, or SS4A or the safety action plan, we can take those now, or we can, you can follow up with us afterwards. But as Nick mentioned, we'll be doing some outreach to you all to support some of these projects as we kind of get the ball rolling and moving on them.
So this is Rena. I don't know if this is directly connected to the safety action planning grant, because I'm not sure if this particular intersection is one of the top, that's part of that grant. But our Daniels Farm Road, White Plains Road, Churchill Road intersection, there's the state's DOT's efforts around the regional resignalization. There's a number of locations in the region that they're doing new traffic signals, and that intersection is one of them. And it is considered a hot spot. Do you have any update on what's going on with the resignalization efforts, where they stand? Is there a way we can work together to get a little bit of an update from DOT? And is that intersection part of the Safe Streets for All effort?
So that's a good question, Rena. I'm actually not sure where that project currently stands. We can reach out to the department to get an understanding of what their plans are for that intersection. But if it's a intersection of concern that it sounds like you guys haven't been kept in the loop too much on, we can provide some support in getting you that info.
Yeah, so, do you know if it's part of your grant, that intersection? You said you have like 6 top intersections or whatever.
Yeah, Rena,
Yeah.
we have 15 locations identified.
Oh.
I don't know off the top of my head if Daniels Farm and White Plains Road is on that list, but I can check and confirm with you. I will say those were the 15 locations we identified in the previous 2 years of our high injury network. We're going to do an analysis as part of SS4A to relook at that high injury network. So there's an opportunity that we can include that intersection. Just because it's not on that list of 15 doesn't mean that we can't incorporate it at some point during the grant process.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Let me know. And maybe we could also, again, because, the state's signalization effort is sort of on a parallel track to some of this, but I do think it will affect the safety of that intersection drastically. So if we could work together to help get an update from them, as the MetroCOG, maybe not, it's not important to the rest of this group, but it's very important to Trumbull. So
I think it's part of a region-wide effort to update traffic signals on state routes. So we'll do some research and see where that stands. And obviously, if it's programmed out, a long time, and there's maybe a demonstration or temporary measure we can do, we'd be happy to look into it. But I think it probably makes most sense to just see where the signalization project stands first.
yeah,
If that works for you. Yeah.
I agree, because we know we're on that signalization project approved to be one of the, but it's like they don't communicate in between. And it's like, how long is this thing taking? And could we do exactly what you're saying? Could there be something done, a little bit more done in the meantime? Because we continue to get, massive numbers of complaints and all of that. So that would be great. Thank you so much.
No problem. Rena, can you repeat the intersection? You said Daniel Farm Road and
Yes, it's Daniels Farm Road that it's 127 meets where White Plains Road and Churchill Road meet, and Daniels Farm Road.
okay.
Yeah.
It's where the Starbucks is and everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
That nightmare.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the federal grant items? Or comments?
Actually, yeah, Devin, if I could interject, I'm really excited to hear that you just got your grant agreement, because I know the town of Fairfield just finally got theirs too. And I could take this offline, but I just was curious. I was thinking as I was listening to you, we're going to be doing a safety action plan. I'm putting on my Fairfield hat now, not my CT Rides hat, but we're going to be doing a safety action plan for the town of Fairfield, and I assume and hope that there will be some coordination and communication between like the consultants being specific to Fairfield and then your MetroCOG plan. consultants. So happy to talk about that offline, like I said, but really excited that so much is going to be happening around that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, I mean, it would only make sense for us to support, you know, the town in that. And I think something that we've discussed in the update to our high injury network is to also include some local roads in the reanalysis of that, which I think would provide a benefit to our municipalities, seeing that we hadn't done that in our previous analysis of our high injury network. So that cross collaboration will happen, and you know we're here to support wherever we can.
Great, thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, so seeing we only have 5 minutes, there's a couple things left here. I'll turn it over to Nick. Do you want to go for the active transportation?
Yeah, all right. So lightning round here. First, the active transportation microgrant program. Applications are due into us this Friday. Since the program is so popular, this is only round 3, but it's the final round of this year because they're all programmed out. So we're allowed only 2 applications per COG. That being said, if you still have an application, please send it in to us. You'll be first in line for funding in the first round of the new year. Moving on to CTDOT updates. They're doing their active transportation plan. They've now moved into the recommendations phase. As part of that, they're doing open houses. Unfortunately, none of them are in our region. The closest is in Middletown, New Britain. Their reasoning for it was that they did outreach as part of the first phase here. That's something we did let them know about, and we're hoping for once they get to that final phase, phase 3, they bring some outreach opportunities back here in the form of open houses. So we'll keep you updated on that. Next, MetroCOG plan updates. Our regional planning plan of conservation and development is steadily continuing. As part of that, we have a final open house opportunity next Wednesday from 9:30 to 12:30. This will be all virtual. So feel free to pop in, hop out whenever you have time. If you've already attended the in-person ones in August, feel free. You don't need to come in. This is for people that missed those opportunities and would still like to get an update on the existing conditions report of the plan and an update on the public engagement that we've done over the course of the summer at farmers markets and libraries throughout the region. And then the climate pollution reduction grant program, that's wrapping up now. The final draft is due into EPA December 1st. We already submitted a draft into EPA August 1st, and we're addressing their comments now. As part of that, we're going to be releasing a final draft plan sometime within the next month or two to have a 30-day public comment period, and we'll be sending out that final plan when it is complete. So keep an eye out for that.
Okay. Any quick questions on anything related to the RPOCD, CPRG, or the active transportation plan? Okay, so hearing none, thank you all for joining us today at our September meeting for TTAC. Our next meeting will be November 12th, a couple months from now. And then we also have our final safety planning meeting December 17th. So again, much of what we've discussed today, I'll share via a follow-up email to everyone later today or tomorrow. And again, if you have any additional questions or comments or concerns, feel free to reach out to us. But specifically, Irina, we'll follow up with you on that Daniels Farm Road piece. And Sarah, we'll communicate with you and the town of Fairfield as you engage in your action plan. So yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thanks, everyone.